Oh, dude.
Recently, residents living near forests and hilly areas have repeatedly reported wolves appearing around livestock farms. At first, they were only seen from a distance, crossing open grasslands or moving along the forest edge before disappearing. However, it wasn't long before several packs began venturing much closer to local farms. People frequently spotted them traveling along fences, crossing dirt roads leading into grazing areas, or watching livestock from a distance. Most sightings occurred around sunrise or shortly after sunset. Some wolves even approached livestock pens before quickly leaving as soon as they noticed human activity. The repeated wolf sightings over several days raised growing concerns among local residents about the safety of their livestock. Farm owners increased fence inspections, secured livestock pens every evening, and kept smaller animals from roaming outside. As reports continued to increase, wildlife management teams began implementing trapping operations in areas where wolf activity was reported most often. Before setting any traps, observers spent several days surveying the area to identify the routes wolves used most frequently. They examined forest trails, openings between tree lines, areas along fences, and the transition zones between the woods and grazing fields. After gathering enough information, the most suitable locations were selected for trap placement. Each trap was carefully positioned to match the wolves' natural travel patterns while minimizing anything that might attract their attention. Throughout the installation process, the surrounding environment was left as undisturbed as possible to avoid changing the wolves' normal behavior when they returned.
Punching around it.
Wildlife experts believe the wolves kept returning mainly because of food availability. As natural prey became scarcer or more difficult to catch, farms with livestock and smaller domestic animals became more attractive targets. Many wolf packs also tend to revisit places where they previously found food, repeatedly following the same travel routes. At the same time trapping efforts were underway, residents reinforced fences, removed anything that could attract wildlife, and increased inspections of their livestock after each wolf sighting. Despite these combined efforts, wolves continued appearing for several consecutive days, showing that managing the situation remained a significant challenge. After a period of monitoring, the entire trapping system was reviewed to improve its effectiveness. Trap locations that consistently showed high levels of wolf activity were kept in place, while those with little activity were relocated to more promising travel routes. The bait was also adjusted when necessary to maintain its effectiveness under local conditions. Every modification was based on observations collected over several consecutive days. These ongoing adjustments gradually made the trapping system better aligned with the wolves' actual movement patterns and laid the groundwork for more successful results.
I'm gonna call it cut and dry. Hydrant.
Water is so important for fishing.
Well, thank you, Casey. Well-being.
Mm-hmm. Anytime.
Okay.
I'd let you have some, but
Stand right here.
right here on a point.
After many days of careful monitoring and adjustments, one of the traps placed along a primary travel route finally produced results. During a routine inspection, observers found that a wolf had been successfully captured after entering the baited area. The entire event was documented to evaluate the effectiveness of the control program. The successful capture demonstrated that accurately identifying travel routes and selecting the right trap locations played a critical role in the operation's success. In the following days, reports of wolves appearing around the area began to decline noticeably. Even so, residents continued maintaining protective measures, regularly inspecting fences and monitoring wildlife activity to reduce the chances of wolves returning while helping ensure the long-term stability of local livestock operations.
Over the past several years, wolves have gradually returned to many rural and mountainous regions across Russia.
Going together and move.
For biologists, this is often viewed as a sign that ecosystems are recovering. But for many ranchers and livestock owners, the growing presence of these predators has created new challenges. From large farms bordering dense forests to remote mountain communities, signs of wolf activity are becoming increasingly common. Wolves track livestock, use the terrain to their advantage, and sometimes cause significant losses for farmers. Once a pack establishes territory in an area, the pressure on livestock can persist for months, forcing rural communities to continually search for more effective ways to protect their animals. As pressure from wolf packs continues to grow, many ranch owners have been forced to invest heavily in protecting their livestock. They install surveillance cameras, reinforce fencing, use warning systems, and hire professional wildlife control teams when necessary.
Come along.
However, unlike many opportunistic predators, wolves are highly coordinated pack hunters. They memorize terrain, learn from experience, and quickly change their behavior when they sense danger. This turns wolf management into a prolonged battle strategy, where even a small mistake can undo weeks of preparation. In modern wildlife management, steel foothold traps are considered one of the most important tools in areas experiencing high levels of predation. However, deploying them is far more complex than many people assume. Control teams spend days surveying the landscape, searching for tracks, for caught on fences, scent marking locations, and the travel routes wolves use most often. Every trap is carefully positioned to take advantage of the animal's natural movement patterns rather than forcing them toward a specific location. Before any trap is set, specialists typically monitor the area using infrared cameras and motion sensors to better understand behavior of the entire pack. They record activity times, approach routes, and locations where wolves frequently stop to observe their surroundings. The most important objective is to avoid making the area appear unusual. Even the slightest sign of danger can cause an entire pack to change its route and disappear from the area for weeks. As a result, most of the operation is spent watching and waiting rather than actually setting traps. Once a suitable location has been identified, steel foothold traps are installed along natural travel corridors. These pathways often develop over many years of repeated use, following creek banks, mountain passes, and forest edges where wolves feel safest. Rather than moving randomly across the landscape, most wolf packs rely on familiar routes that have been used for generations. Understanding these invisible corridors greatly increases control effectiveness without expanding the area of intervention. However, even with increasingly advanced surveillance technology and years of field experience, managing wolves remains a difficult task. They work as a team, remember their surroundings, and adapt their behavior quickly. An area that remains quiet for several months can suddenly show fresh signs of wolf activity after a single breeding season. When one route becomes heavily monitored, new travel corridors often emerge deeper in the forest or farther away from areas with regular human activity. Ultimately, the story of wolves is about far more than steel foothold traps, surveillance equipment, or wildlife control programs. It highlights the complexity of balancing wildlife conservation with the protection of human livelihoods. Every improvement in management brings new challenges because the opponent is not a simple animal, but an intelligent predator that has adapted to its environment for thousands of years. And in the end, the question remains, are humans truly controlling the return of wolves, or are we simply learning to live alongside a part of nature that never completely disappeared?
On the fields along the northern forest edge, within just a few short weeks, dozens of livestock disappeared, leaving farmers with fear and enormous economic losses. Barns and fences remained intact, yet every morning, wet soil revealed footprints leading straight into the forest. The wolves were not merely hunting instinctively. They had learned to move with precision, avoiding all conventional traps and striking at times when farmers least expected, causing losses of hundreds of thousands of dollars in a single night. Realizing that regular patrols were ineffective, the farmers tried several direct approaches. Some attempted to catch wolves with nets, but due to the animals' speed and vigilance, these efforts yielded almost no results. Eventually, they collaborated with a wildlife management team to deploy a trapping system. The first strategy was cage traps placed along trails identified by footprints and drag marks. The sturdy steel cages were large enough to hold adult wolves and contained enticing bait such as raw meat or small offal. The cages were camouflaged with branches, forest leaves, and a thin layer of mud, making it difficult for wolves to recognize the danger. After several days of monitoring with infrared cameras and remote tracking, wolves began appearing around the cage traps. Some were successfully captured overnight, quickly checked by medical staff to ensure they were healthy and uninjured, and then relocated to designated protected areas. This approach ensured the wolves' safety while allowing managers to analyze individual behavior, assess population status, and adjust trap placement strategies accordingly. Other wolves remained cautious, circling without entering the cages. At this stage, foothold traps were deployed. Placed near narrow paths and dense vegetation, these traps were designed to hold a wolf's paw without causing serious injury. Trap locations were calculated based on the pack's patrol behavior, often along worn dirt paths or near water sources. These traps complemented the cage traps, providing additional opportunities to capture intelligent, wary wolves while dispersing pressure from the pack across open fields. Foothold traps were checked multiple times daily to ensure that any trapped wolf would not experience excessive stress and could be handled quickly.
Right? So if you want to bunch up a little bit while we're releasing.
The combination of cage and foothold traps created a double effect. When one wolf was captured in a cage, it altered the behavior of the entire pack, causing the remaining wolves to move into pre-prepared locations. After several days, some wolves were successfully captured, and farmers began to notice a significant reduction in livestock attacks.
In the U.S., wolf
However,
hunting is not
the
done
remaining
recklessly.
clever wolves remained vigilant. This is when the final strategy was implemented: direct hunting using bows or long-range firearms to manage dangerous individuals already accustomed to traps. Hunters chose times when wolves moved out of the forest into open fields, minimizing noise and carefully observing behavior. Bow hunting required precise skill and served as an effective tool to reduce wolf pressure on the farms. Once the last individuals were controlled, farmers observed a clear change. Livestock no longer disappeared unexpectedly, and fences and barns remained intact. The integrated system of cage traps, foothold traps, and direct hunting proved effective, significantly reducing losses while stabilizing the wolf population, protecting farmers' livelihoods, and respecting conservation rules. Throughout the process, every action, from trap placement to inspection and retrieval, was recorded on camera to ensure transparency and safety. The data helped predict pack behavior, optimize trap locations, and plan patrol schedules. To see detailed demonstrations of each trap type, strategic placement, and effective wolf tracking techniques, follow the channel and turn on notifications. The demonstration videos guide how to protect livestock and safely manage wildlife.
There are forests that people believe they have brought completely under control. Patrol roads have been widened. Protective fences have been reinforced. Surveillance cameras have been installed along the trails. Yet, whenever night falls, strange signs begin to appear. Footprints are left in the snow, only to vanish abruptly in the middle of an open clearing. Deer throughout the area become unusually alert. Livestock on farms bordering the forest are repeatedly attacked without anyone ever seeing the predator responsible. All of these clues point to one unmistakable fact. The wolf pack has returned, and it is moving with almost flawless caution. Unlike predators that rely solely on instinct, wolves possess an extraordinary ability to learn. They quickly remember places where they have encountered danger and rarely make the same mistake twice. For that reason, setting a trap is far more than simply hiding a device beneath the soil or covering it with a few branches. To outsmart a fully grown wolf's vigilance, one must first understand how it perceives the world. Every step it takes, every pause to catch a scent, and every glance over its shoulder is part of an ongoing assessment of the safety of its surroundings.
And he was just already getting close to the head.
For weeks on end, wildlife management specialists resisted the urge to deploy traps. Instead, they devoted most of their time to studying the pack's movement patterns. The wolves crossed shallow streams, followed the hillsides, and frequently stopped at locations that offered broad vantage points. Gradually, the map of their movements emerged like an invisible maze woven through the forest. It was there that the trap was installed with near-perfect precision. Every trace of human presence was carefully erased. The ground was leveled to match its natural texture. Dry leaves were returned to their original positions, and unfamiliar scents were minimized to avoid altering the animal's perception of their environment.
With ease.
But the real challenge did not begin until nightfall. The alpha wolf appeared first. Rather than moving straight ahead, it repeatedly stopped to observe its surroundings. The wind shifted, carrying the familiar scents of the ancient forest. The wolf slowly advanced a few more meters before suddenly turning back, as though it had sensed something was wrong. The entire observation team watched the monitors in complete silence. A single unusual reaction could cause the entire pack to abandon this route for months to come. Yet after several minutes of careful inspection, the wolf appeared to regain its confidence. It continued forward, placing each step deliberately along the familiar trail. The decisive moment arrived more quickly than anyone had expected. As the animal's weight pressed precisely on the pre-selected point, the trap mechanism was triggered instantly. The rapid response team arrived within minutes to carry out established wildlife management procedures, ensuring the safety of both the animal and the people involved. Every action was performed with great care, minimizing stress and avoiding unnecessary injury whenever possible.
trap, but it's also a one. He's gonna be feisty. Feisty. Trying to get in the box. Oh, you did it. Good God.
However, capturing a single wolf did not mean victory. Just a few days later, the surveillance cameras recorded obvious changes. The remaining wolves began avoiding the old area, became active later at night, and started using entirely new routes. They seemed to realize that their once familiar environment was no longer as safe as it had been. As a result, the specialists were forced to begin again, continuing to monitor, analyze, and refine their strategy. That is why many people believe the conflict between humans and wolves has never truly been a contest of strength. It is a competition between the power of observation and the ability to adapt. Every fresh footprint left on the forest floor is a message, and every subtle change in behavior has the potential to reshape an entire plan. In a vast wilderness where nature constantly follows its own laws, the most effective trap is not the one concealed with the greatest skill, but the one set by those who truly understand the mind of one of the world's most intelligent predators.
In the deep wilderness where humans rarely tread.
Little points on my trap right there. Down in there, like so.
Hand-foot catch, which isn't ideal.
It all began with silence. There were no howls echoing through the night. No clear signs of chaos appeared around the farms. Only unexplained gaps. A few young calves went missing. Sheep herds became unusually restless whenever night fell. And then, on the soft mud beside the fence, footprints appeared. They were not wandering aimlessly. They moved as if they had memorized every tree root, every stream gap, and every trail cutting through the forest. The wolves were returning. Unlike many other predators, wolves do not rely on sheer strength. They win through coordination. A pack can track a target for hours, memorize terrain, and change tactics in the middle of a pursuit. This is what turns controlling them into a long game of strategy, where every move must be carefully calculated. Infrared cameras were deployed along natural movement corridors. Night after night, the footage began to reveal an invisible network stretching across the mountains and forests. Wolves did not move randomly. They used fixed routes passed down through generations. These paths were like hidden highways understood only by them. Once the movement patterns were decoded, the next phase began. Instead of placing traps everywhere, wildlife control teams focused on natural choke points. These could be narrow passages between cliffs, a dry stream bed, or a gap between dense clusters of trees. The goal was not to force a wolf into a trap. The goal was to place the trap exactly where it was already going to pass. The steel foothold trap was prepared so carefully it almost disappeared into the ground. Each layer of dry leaves was meticulously repositioned. Soil was dusted to match the surrounding environment. Even human scent had to be minimized as much as possible. With a sense of smell far beyond many other animals, wolves can detect a single unusual detail that the human eye would miss. One small mistake was enough to make an entire pack change routes for weeks.
So this dog box bedding is
But the hardest part was not hiding the trap. The hardest part was understanding the mind of the wolf. Adult wolves rarely rush into anything new. They observe, they test, they sniff repeatedly before making a decision. This is why experts spend weeks monitoring behavior. Every new footprint on the ground, every camera angle, and every slight change in movement routes becomes an essential piece of a larger puzzle.
Yep.
Then, on a freezing night, the long-awaited moment finally arrived. On the monitoring screen, the silhouette of a large wolf appeared under infrared light. It moved slowly along the familiar corridor. No rush, no hesitation. Everything around it matched what it had seen for months. When the next step landed on the pre-calculated spot, the trap mechanism instantly triggered. The entire process happened in a fraction of a second. Rapid response teams quickly arrived at the scene to handle the situation according to wildlife management protocols. The system's goal was not to create a violent confrontation. Instead, everything was designed to minimize risk to humans, livestock, and the surrounding ecosystem. But the story did not end with a single capture. The remaining wolves quickly adapted. They changed routes, shifted activity times, and became more cautious. Once again, the strategic game began. Wolf control has never been just about a steel foothold trap. It is a battle of patience, observation, and understanding one of North America's most intelligent predators. In that vast forest, where every footprint tells its own story, victory does not belong to the stronger side. It belongs to the one who understands the opponent's behavior better than anyone else.
Feed the pack for several days, but then
Wolves.
Real quick. All right, dude. You need.
Whoa. Talking smack.
Not every set of tracks in the soil leads to prey. Some instead mark the beginning of a battle of wits that can last for days between humans and one of the most intelligent predators in the wild. Wolves do not survive through speed or strength alone. They rely on an almost flawless sense of vigilance, an exceptional memory of the terrain, and a habit of investigating anything unusual along their travel routes. That is why, to get close to an adult wolf, wildlife control officers must be even more patient than the animal they are pursuing. Everything begins with the smallest clues. Tracks pressed into damp soil, tufts of fur caught on fences, livestock carcasses stripped down to the bones, or the sound of howls echoing after nightfall are all carefully documented. Infrared cameras are then installed along game trails and near water sources to determine exactly when the pack appears. After many nights of observation, a pattern gradually emerges. The wolves usually follow the same route, keep a safe distance from populated areas, and almost always send a lead wolf ahead to check for danger before the rest of the pack moves in. Once a consistent travel route has been identified, the wildlife control team begins selecting the ideal location for the trap. They avoid areas littered with dry branches or large rocks, since even the slightest sound can cause a wolf to change direction. The steel foothold trap is firmly anchored with a heavy-duty steel cable, then carefully concealed beneath a thin layer of soil and dry leaves so that it blends seamlessly with the surrounding ground. Every trace of human presence is meticulously erased. Even the team's approach route is planned according to the wind direction to minimize any lingering human scent around the trap site. To improve the chances of success, the bait is placed a short distance from the trap rather than directly above it. Carried by the wind, its scent sparks the wolf's curiosity, forcing it to advance step by cautious step in search of the food source. This is also the moment when its instinct for caution becomes strongest. The animal often stops repeatedly, raises its head to scan the surroundings, sniffs the air, and only then continues forward. Some wolves spend tens of minutes inspecting just the final few meters before finally placing a paw exactly where the trap has been carefully positioned. The days that follow are filled with tense anticipation. The wildlife control team watches from a distance while reviewing footage from the cameras to monitor every movement in the area. Night after night passes with the trap still untouched, suggesting that the wolf is quietly testing human patience. Then, at daybreak one morning, the sharp vibration of the steel cable breaking the silence signals that the Battle of Wits has finally come to an end. An adult wolf has been caught in the steel foothold trap. As soon as it is discovered, the team moves in quickly while maintaining a safe distance. Even though the animal is restrained, it continues to growl, watches every direction, and remains ready to react at the slightest opportunity. The specialists use professional equipment to bring the situation under control before administering an appropriate sedative to reduce the wolf's stress and ensure everyone's safety. During the health assessment, they examine the condition of the trapped leg, monitor its heart rate, and evaluate its chances of recovery before deciding on the next course of action. After all examinations have been completed, the wolf is transported to a suitable location in accordance with established regulations to reduce the likelihood of it returning to areas near livestock. At the same time, all camera footage, field evidence, and observations of the animal's behavior are carefully preserved to support future wildlife management efforts. For those who do this work, success is measured not by the number of traps they set, but by their ability to understand wolf behavior and intervene at the right moment to minimize human-wildlife conflict. Every set of tracks in the soil, therefore, tells more than the story of a predator. It also reflects a quiet battle between nature's instinct for survival and the knowledge that humans have accumulated through years of careful observation. At first, no one realized anything unusual was happening. The fields looked as peaceful as ever. The fences remained intact. No strange sounds echoed through the night. Yet little by little, unusual signs began to appear. A few young livestock animals failed to return with the herd. Sheep became increasingly alert whenever darkness settled over the landscape. Then, along the damp soil at the edge of the forest, unfamiliar tracks began to emerge. They stretched across the ground in a clear path, as if something had memorized every corner of the area long ago. Those mysterious visitors were wolves. They may not possess the overwhelming strength of a bear or the explosive speed of a cheetah, but they are masters of coordinated hunting. Every member of the pack serves a specific role. They communicate, work together, and use the terrain in ways few predators can match. That is exactly why managing wolves has always been such a difficult challenge. To better understand their opponent, wildlife management teams began installing surveillance cameras throughout key areas. Over time, the footage revealed a much larger picture of the pack's movements and behavior. The results showed that wolves rarely travel at random. Instead, they rely on familiar travel corridors that have been used for years. These routes often follow creek beds, hillsides, and dense stretches of forest that provide both cover and security. Once these movement patterns were identified, experts moved on to the next phase. Rather than scattering traps across a wide area, they focus on locations wolves were almost certain to pass through. These natural bottlenecks included narrow trails and confined pathways where multiple routes eventually converged into a single point. The foothold trap was carefully concealed with extraordinary attention to detail. The ground was restored to appear as natural as possible. Dry leaves, grass, and surface soil were meticulously arranged to eliminate any sign of disturbance. Even human scent was minimized as much as possible. With their remarkably sensitive sense of smell, wolves can detect even the smallest change in their surroundings. If they sense something unusual, an entire pack may abandon the area and shift to a completely different route. However, the key to success was never the trap itself. The real challenge was understanding wolf behavior. Wolves are extremely cautious animals. They rarely rush towards something unfamiliar. Before making a decision, they often stop to observe, evaluate, and inspect their surroundings multiple times. That is why behavioral research became the most important part of the entire process. Every track, every appearance on camera, and every subtle change in movement patterns provided valuable information. After weeks of monitoring, the moment everyone had been waiting for finally arrived. On one of the surveillance screens, a mature wolf appeared along the edge of the monitored area. It moved calmly down a trail the pack had used many times before. Nothing seemed out of place. Nothing triggered suspicion. As it stepped onto a location that had been carefully selected in advance, the trap mechanism was activated instantly. The entire event unfolded in a fraction of a second. Moments later, the wildlife management team arrived to carry out the proper procedures. But capturing a single wolf did not mean the story was over. The remaining wolves quickly responded to the change. They adjusted their routes, altered their activity patterns, and became far more cautious. As a result, wildlife specialists were forced to continue adapting as well. The ongoing contest between humans and one of nature's most intelligent predators had entered a new phase. Managing wolves has never been simply about traps or equipment. It is a process built on patience, observation, and a deep understanding of behavior. In the vast wilderness, where every track tells a story, the ultimate advantage belongs to the side that understands its opponent best. Many years ago, cattle ranchers living near a vast mountain region only occasionally heard wolves howling on cold nights. They rarely caused serious problems. But as their numbers increased, everything began to change. At first, there were tracks in the snow. Then young calves started disappearing. Soon, the livestock became restless night after night, gathering together in tight groups. Farmers quickly realized they were facing an opponent far more intelligent than they had ever imagined. What made the situation even more concerning was that the problem was not limited to livestock losses. Security cameras captured wolves moving with remarkable organization and coordination. They appeared in multiple locations during the same night, splitting into smaller groups before reuniting again. Some individuals remained at a distance, watching the area, while others quietly approached the grazing grounds. Many ranch owners soon understood that adding more fences or increasing patrols was no longer enough. The wolves had adapted to the changes created by humans. To find a long-term solution, wildlife specialists were invited to survey the area. They spent days monitoring the region with infrared cameras and using bait to attract the animals. Thousands of hours of footage revealed that the wolf pack frequently traveled along established routes, yet constantly changed their timing to avoid becoming predictable. Some individuals even checked for signs of human activity before leading the rest of the pack through the area. After identifying the most important travel corridor, the management team implemented a new strategy. Instead of relying on aggressive methods such as hunting, they used capture devices carefully concealed within the natural environment while minimizing any trace of human scent. Sensors and cameras operated continuously, nearly invisible among the grass and shrubs. The goal was not to drive the wolves away, but to accurately monitor their movements and select the appropriate individual for intervention. The first few days required tremendous patience. The wolves often appeared at the edge of the monitored area, sniffed the air, and quietly disappeared. On some nights, they stood on a high ridge for long periods, observing without taking another step forward. Specialists noticed that the pack constantly evaluated its surroundings and would immediately change direction if anything seemed unusual. This caution was one of the main reasons why many previous control efforts had failed. During the second week, an unexpected development occurred. Cameras recorded the pack leader appearing near a small stream that it regularly used as part of its route. As the lead animal, it always checked the safety of an area before allowing the rest of the pack to move through. The wolf paused for a long time, carefully observing its surroundings before slowly continuing forward. Just seconds later, the control system was activated exactly as planned. However, what surprised the specialists most was the reaction of the remaining wolves. As soon as the signal was received, the management team immediately arrived at the site. After assessing the animal's condition and ensuring its safety, they brought a specialized transport cage to the capture location. Every step was carried out carefully to reduce stress on the wolf. Within a short time, the animal was safely secured inside the enclosure and prepared for relocation. The specialized vehicle transported the wolf to a wildlife conservation area. The objective was not to eliminate wolves, but to reduce conflicts between wildlife and people. By studying wolf behavior and travel patterns, managers were able to apply more effective solutions. When a safe distance is maintained, both livestock and wild animals have a greater chance of coexisting in a stable and sustainable way. The story between humans and wolves will likely continue for many years to come. However, modern wildlife management programs demonstrate that understanding animal behavior is often far more effective than confronting it with force. In the wild, knowledge can sometimes be the most powerful tool of all. If you enjoyed this story, leave a comment and subscribe to the channel to follow our future journeys.